Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm a young man born and raised within the 99% and a proud member of many communities here on Earth. I'm very taken by the Occupy movement, as well as other protests in the nation, such as Tar Sands Action. Like many of you, I have anxiously watched my society degrade and painfully witnessed the vitality of our planet crumble along with it. For years I studied and I always voiced my concerns and my hopes to those around me, but where is the movement, I thought. How can such injustice continue? Why are folks so easily pushed around? Where is the movement? I thought. What will it take? I am thrilled to see some friction at last within the US. I'm thrilled to see protests that are actually talked about by the public and more than just shrugged off by corporations. Such Occupy camps in every city give me great inspiration to keep acting, like many others I've spoken to who are refueled or re-energized to join in, or who may just be invigorated for the very first time. I don't need to tell you that this is exactly the kind of energy and the commitment that is needed by our imperiled world. But with this optimism, I still believe that time is short. Finance systems are falling apart and our planet is in critical condition. People are out though, and we have the stage. There is a chance. We are the 99% is a very legitimate message, but I'm especially interested in what this movement could turn into beyond or through our mutual dissent for the social order. The Occupy movement has been criticized for its lack of clear demands, but what's more important to me is the need for a clear vision. No doubt the General Assemblies are already pushing forward to articulate such goals, but I am here to share perspectives that I believe must remain on the table and to propose a specific direction that I feel addresses the sum of our needs with a realistic strategy to get there. So, no less than a global perspective. For the situation now, 11 years after the new millennium, I don't believe that we can afford anything less than a global perspective. If we are to carve a livable future, then each of our battles must be united. The truth is, though, that they already are. Environmental degradation, crimes against human rights, famine, war, inequality, and unemployment are all symptoms of the same ailment. They're symptoms of the same disorder. Until activists realize that it is an industrial model of our civilization that we're up against, and not just certain policies within that system, then we will have to be content with subtle shifts and no serious change. I believe that the world needs joint solutions to its diverse problems, and I believe that such broad solutions do exist. I am making this video to bring up the concept of ecological restoration, that's ecological restoration on a massive scale, and how that process may be accomplished while mending all of our other troubles. As stated, the Occupy movement has been poorly discredited for lacking specific demands, but it will be brilliant visions, in fact, that bring it from a mass protest to a movement that we all pursue. Now, before I outline this vision for the movement and for the planet, I just want to urge everyone that as we press forward to formulate our vision, think way outside of the box. It is not necessary to construct a new society out of pieces of a broken culture. There are far more options. Understand that the world we grew up in is not the way things have always been. It is not the way they have to be, and it is not the way that things have to continue. As Charles Eisenstein wrote in the link below, what we really want is nothing less than the most beautiful world our hearts tell us is possible. I agree, and I think that this is a very intriguing place to begin. There's a global history that is missed in school. It's ripe with perspectives to ground us, and the history is ripe with materials to design such a wise and such a beautiful world. A vision of this full history will be the subject of my next video, but first is the vision, is the solution that this thinking bore. So, explanation of and support for global restoration. I'm still working out the best way to introduce what I call global restoration, but I think that a good place to start is with the process. The main structure looks like occupy encampments, either moving or forming anew, not in cities, but on the land. They will become communities that can be sustained indefinitely, and of course they'll be modeled after our wisest ideals, even if that means that each one is unique. These rural encampments' goals, their purpose is to support the movement as a whole and to carefully restore the surrounding land and ecosystems. In this scenario, the action becomes less of a siege and more like a culture of restoration, moving toward a better world in resistance to our violent society. It shapes an alternative to the industrial machine. Now, this could all be well set in motion through an online network that connects landowners with those of us who are ready to start founding such permanent encampments. People could donate land in some cases, and in others, individuals may have to pool their resources and purchase a site outright. Damaged locations are good too because they need the restoration and they can be obtained easily. Similar networks can allocate resources like donated tools as we move along, like seeds, like money, like labor, clothes, like stoves, books, expertise, and medical supplies, all of the above and beyond. These communities, once they're established, they continue to grow, they network, they seed other similar sites, and of course they sequester carbon, thus becoming tightly connected, though autonomous settlements. I picture these communities much like a co-op or a sustainable farm. Similarities include the potential to provide a new livelihood for the people within, and key distinctions being that the Occupy groups support all the other groups, and another characteristic of the groups is that they are all grounded in global restoration, meaning that they will participate as little as possible with industrial systems, and their management strategies oversee the health of the native ecosystem while detoxifying global resources like water and like atmosphere. So, rather than having a movement operated by people who are also living paycheck to paycheck, rural encampments will free as many members as possible from the grind to put up a serious fight against industry and a serious fight for a livable world. It's to form a greater support network for the movement. It is a boycott and an alternative all in one. Encampments can still protest and advocate, yes, of course, but working on the ground together also lets us do something bigger. It lets us implement our best world. It lets us implement and demonstrate what an equitable, sustainable, moral, creative, and abundant society can and will look like. Scientists are calling for drastic emission cuts, but what alternative energy can meet that demand? Our food and transport systems are still powered by tar sands oil and by Eastern blood. Most sane people dream of a life that can be lived without denying other communities the ability to live to their potential, but that world, that reality, would mean no more shopping for things like new clothes, for electronics, or for Hershey's chocolate that's crafted by slaves, and it would mean no coal or oil for the Northeast to keep warm this winter. One can sense that things have got to change drastically, but that doesn't mean a new light bulb, and it does not mean a new president. It means an entirely new way of life that is not based off of the exploitation of workers, that is not based off of the exploitation of the land. It means an entirely new way of life that is not based off of the exploitation of indigenous people or the exploitation of the climate, of forests, of mines, or of mountains, and it means an entirely new way of life that is not based off of the exploitation of our futures. When these basic principles are finally applied in full, it will be proud, locally dependent communities that we call home. It is to construct working models of these communities while we collectively answer the needs of the natural world that accomplishes the vision of global restoration. This is wild. This is a wild, though practical solution, and it would be difficult to pull off in a society of isolation, but now that the Occupy movement has created, well, a movement, then connected communities can be generated voluntarily as I'm describing. The sooner that we begin this process, the smoother our transition will be, and the further that we will get before it's too late. This has been an introduction to one of the many possible directions that the Occupy process or a movement of its own could take. I've written much more than this first 9 minutes, so check back for more. I'll be putting together more videos or maybe just an article with greater details, support, and clarification that I look forward to posting soon and that I hope will turn into a series of resources. But until then, contact me by all means if this is something that you're interested in. It's a concept that I'm absolutely invested in and passionate about, that I intend to see through, not just as a series of videos, but creating actually and developing one of these physical communities. So let's network. Besides that, definitely comment on the video and the idea itself. Until next time.